situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, this morning we will begin with Daily Trust newspaper, and on the front page there you would find chieftains divided as APC fixes convention for February. You'd find that story on page 32. And then many fear death as fire guts Rivers jetty. That's on the Daily Trust newspaper. You'd find that on page 7. The lead story, dozens still missing 2 days after Abuja-Kaduna road attack. With the riders saying, police say 11 rescued as bandits abduct more security agents in pursuit of assailants. And that's according to the Commissioner of Police in the state. Another one says how ex-Zamfara governorship aspirant was killed. And that's according to the driver. From what we know so far, the ex-governorship aspirant had 2 other persons traveling with him. That is the driver and 1 other person in the vehicle. And that what happened, the driver has been able to escape, but the former governorship aspirant was killed, and the other person is still missing and assumed to have been kidnapped by the abductors. Also, you'd find synergy key to ending attacks. That's according to analyst perspectives on the recent happening. Now, the pictorial there shows you security agents inspecting late Alhaji Sagir Hamidu's vehicle along Abuja-Kaduna highway before it was towed to Katari police station. That's the picture there. And now below that, 2021 SSC mixed feelings as WAEC records 81.7% success rate, and that's on page 3 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Below that, at the very bottom, you would find EFCC probes publisher over $300,000 blackmail. Floor Mills acquires 72% stake in Honeywell. Northern coalition to Buhari don't succumb to pressure to release Kanu. You'd find details of that story on page 7 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Now let's take a look at other papers this morning. The Guardian newspaper, for instance, is saying with the stories there, you would find the first one there at the top says Senate alleges 16 billion naira padding of 2022 budget, and that's on page 3. Bandits kill 4, ransack Katsina community. You'd find that on page 5 of the Guardian. EFCC rearranged Saraki's cousin, Kwara ex-commissioner for alleged money laundering contract scam, and that's on page 5 of the Guardian this morning. Flour Mills, Honeywell reach 80 billion naira shares transfer deal. The lead story on the Guardian newspaper this morning says APC, Buni gets 3 months Buhari OK's February convention, with the riders there saying, I'm not jobless. Buni dismisses plan to extend CECPC tenure. Presidency in dilemma over direct primary. You'd also find APC governors insist on indirect primaries. Ball in president's court, says Lawan. You'd also see the pictorial there showing you yesterday the flag of the 9th General Assembly of Africa's First Ladies holding here in Abuja. You'd also find below that, something has happened to us. We need our humanity back, says Shoyinka. That's on page 2. December 1 deadline. Get vaccinated if you love your job, FG tells workers. And that's on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. At the bottom, you'll also see the story about WAEC releasing SSE results, records 81.7% success rate. And that's on the Guardian newspaper. Let's take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. And there you'd see the first story at the top says, Okowa falls rising cost of gas, FG plans 10 million cylinders purchase, and that's on page 22. You'd find also on page 19, Naira loses steam, slides to 555 to $1 in parallel market. And then 11,200 Nigerian women, children raped in 2020. That's according to the United Nations. That story is found on page 26. Capital inflow crashes by 80%. Foreign investors shun Nigerian market. That's on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. The lead story on the Punch says February 2022 APC convention date shaky. Crisis persists in 12 states, with the riders, governors proposed February to President Buhari for approval, says Bagudu. Rivers, Ekiti, Ogun, Oyo, Zamfara, Kwara, Cross River, others affected. And then below the pictorial, women better to drive peace process. That's according to the president there. And then you would also find WAEC releases 2021 WASC results, withholds 11%. That's on page 3. And then also we have other stories there saying Saraki's cousin, Kwara ex-commissioner rearranged for contract scam, fund diversion. You'd also find veteran comic actor Baba Sue dies at 63. Bajabia Miller mourns. Also, you'll find that other stories saying treat oil theft as treason. Military policemen involved. This is according to the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. Married man abandons girlfriend in Lagos hotel room, rapes receptionist. That's quite a tragic one. Another one says Adedoyin's son supervised evacuation, burial of OAU student, flees. That's according to the commissioner of police in the state. Now, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch says WAEC jacks up exam fees to 18,000 naira, with the rider 81.7% credit recorded. You'd also find Wike, top military police officers, others involved in oil theft. You'd see also panel on Ikoyi building collapse, seeks memoranda. Nollywood veteran Baba Sue dies at 63. Other stories there says Lagos hashtag NSAS panel report controversy rages. You'd see also Honeywell flour mills in 80 billion naira merger deal. The lead story on The Nation, Buni, why APC can't hold national convention now, with the rider party to conclude congresses in 4 states. Buhari governors settle for February. 16 billion naira hidden vote found in Environment Ministry's budget. And these are some of the stories on the Nation newspaper this morning. Now, we'll get perspectives on these stories that made the headlines this morning, but that will be shortly after this break. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a person look like the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the TrustTV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search TrustTV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. TrustTV, documenting the Nigerian story.
All right, thank you for staying with us. This is Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. Now joining me in the studio to give perspectives to the stories that made the headlines this morning on our newspapers is Nuruddeen Abdullah, editor, 21st Century Chronicle, here in the studio. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
It's good to have you, Janice, here. All right, now let's take a look at the lead story on the Daily Trust newspaper, talking about the Abuja-Kaduna road attack, saying dozens are still missing 2 days after. The police are telling us that 11 persons have been rescued so far. and we are having also an account of what exactly happened by the driver. Let's get your thoughts, around this recent happening. For a while, we've not seen this kind of attack, and then suddenly, boom, we're having it here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Abuja-Kaduna highway is back in the news for the negative reason. And pockets of abduction attack do take place. But sometimes if the number is not that high, and don't forget, from Jere down to Kaduna, there's no mobile telephones. They have been shut down. So the attacks, the reports are not as it used to be, where people, what do I call it, do live, the moment something happens,
Yes,
live broadcast,
live feed,
you understand. And this thing is spectacular because of the personality involved. So the casualty or the fatalities, determine how big the problem is. A governorship aspirant from Zamfara was gunned down. You understand? So it's a big thing. But attacks on the villages along the roads do take place. And if you look at it, I don't know. The security actually need to revise their strategy along the road. I followed that road on Friday. The road is so bad, that's it. And where this thing took place, it's a one-way. Because, we used to have, excuse me, we used to have potholes on the roads, but now we have boreholes, if you pardon me to use that word. So you have to stop. At certain instances, you have to become immobile. And these people strategically select those areas, and that's where they attack. You understand? And like I said, I don't know the security strategy. You remember, I think maybe the authorities involved, they need to revise what...
Do you think that maybe there's some kind of laid back at some point, maybe because of some of the successes that were recorded?
Certainly. Let me give you an example. There was a time this thing was becoming a recurring decimal along the road. And the security situation, the security authorities step up. You'll see a motorcade of security on the road, but you'll pass that road without seeing that now. And with that Baleri bandit campaign, on the loose, you understand? And he can do anything. He's trying to prove his notoriety, you understand, by kidnapping, killing, and what have you. So I think we have to reverse to what Namadi Sambwa administration did. He established Operation Yaki. And throughout the nearly 2.5 years, Namadi's stint as Kaduna State Governor, there were very few incidents.
But we have an operation ongoing in Kaduna, isn't it?
You and me, that is privy to the security agencies. But look at what happened. It happened yesterday, according to reports. These same bandits came back 5 kilometers to where they struck on Sunday. They took our people. I don't know what the security people are doing behind the scene, but we're talking about the impact. At that time, I think Kaduna, Abuja was almost divided into about 5 zones. At any given time, at any given hour, you'll see a security vehicle moving. And during that time, those people who live in Kaduna, you understand? From
a witness, well, let me not say witness per se, but from someone who actually plied that road, that same day that the attack happened, I think it was just a couple of, maybe an hour or so interval between when he left there and when that attack happened. He said that the military helicopter was roving around that point maybe a couple of times, as at the time he passed. So even with that, we still have this, happening. What what exactly could have happened.
I saw it on Friday. You understand, the same chopper. So that's why I said there should be the security authorities need to revise their strategy. There was a time that some armed lady soldiers, were deployed. We passed that, though. You won't see anything. On Friday, I didn't see a single one. In fact, there are some places where there are units of these motorcycle soldiers. I didn't see any. So, yeah, the security, you can say, they are overstretched. But actually, the way they are going about this, what the bandits are doing is not like they used to in the past, where robbers block roads and what have you. No, they stop the vehicles with firepower. They pick the survivors. You can see how mad, how dangerous this. And like I said, people who live along those areas, people who have farms and what have you, you can't go to the farm. Even the villagers are not immune. So it is only when they do a very large-scale abduction or a VIP is abducted or unfortunately gone down, like it happened on Sunday, that you see it splash on the pages of newspapers. But it's a daily occurrence.
All right, now let's take a look at some political issues. The story about the APC convention is generating a lot of heat. We'll see on the front page of Daily Trust, chieftains are divided as the APC is considering February for their national convention. Another one on The Guardian says APC, Buni gets 3 months, Buhari okay's February convention. So a lot of matters arising to that. Where do you think that APC is heading with this?
I think at last there is a date. Buni was given 6 months. It was extended. At the expiration of the second extension, his tenure as the chairman of the National Planning Committee of the APC Convention was extended ad infinitum. That's what he is today. At least there is a date now. And there are so many issues. And the APC is being extra careful. Because if you do that convention, the convention, will mirror what will happen in the 2023 elections, particularly at the party primaries. So that is it. Who becomes the party chairman is a pointer to where the presidential candidate will come from. The PDP did their own. They picked Dr. H.I.U. from the North Central. They were mute on the presidency where it will be, but apparently it will be an open one. So APC, with the crisis, left, right, and center, they have to be extra careful. So at least, I think it's 3 months. Let's see, because at least there is a date, unless if it is rescheduled, which is very possible. You understand? You don't know what the Yobe governor told the president. You understand? But this date, maybe some of the chieftains are jittery that, okay, it's a date, but it may be rescheduled. It's very possible. Because there are so many factions within the APC, all working towards grabbing power in 2023. So, for you to have an edge at the end of during the 2023 elections, you have to have some control over the political structure of the party. So that does it. So who feels, we want to see whose candidate will finally emerge as the APC national chairman. It has a lot to do with what happens in 2023. So that all this permutation, the Tinubu comes, the Buhari boys in court, those guys in the villa, the El-Rufai Fahimi comes, even the Buni comes, They were all there.
So in other words, you say that the conversation about zoning and all of that is a contention here for the APC?
Sure. Don't forget that the APC doesn't have zoning in its constitution like the PDP. But by and large, they have to look at the political situation. They don't want to shoot themselves on the foot. PDP has opened its presidential slot, apparently. And you can guess, barring any last-minute change or what have you, you can guess the 5 candidates or the first 3 candidates that may emerge from the PDP. So APC has to look at that carefully and counter it. If, for instance, a presidential candidate of the PDP emerges from the north, the APC cannot risk it and bring somebody from the south. You understand? So all these permutations are what is delaying this convention. But for the fact that now at least Buni has given us a date, let's give him that benefit of the doubt and see what happened. Now, the so many factions in the party now will have to go and strategize to ensure that their people emerge at the neck of the party. Who emerge as the APC national chairman will go a long way in determining who emerge as the presidential candidate and where he comes from. It's very important.
All right. Now let's take a look at another interesting story here. On The Guardian here, we see on page 2 saying December 1 deadline. Get vaccinated if you love your job. The federal government is telling workers, I would say this is more like a threat. And so workers are now asked, it's like a mandatory thing now to get vaccinated, for COVID or not. Is that practical in our time?
So, the government can say so many things at the same time. Whether it is practicable or not is another thing entirely different. I don't think that in Nigeria we don't have that anti-vaccine scenario compared to what happened in Europe. You understand? So, if these vaccines are made available, people will go for them. In Europe, Austria, for instance, you can see the police have to disperse protesters who are against the vaccine. You understand? It is not the same thing here. We are used to this thing. We have done our own during the polio controversy some 10 years ago. You understand? And at least, even though we have a very low statistics in terms of, but we believe that COVID is real. You have known someone who knows someone who is dead because of COVID-19 complications. So it is real. So instead of issuing empty threats, the government should simply provide the infrastructure where this thing can take place. For instance, if you want workers to do it, why can't you send these people to the health officials to the ministries? It's as simple as that. Send these health workers to the ministries. Let's get the workers vaccinated. It's as simple as that. All the general hospitals, all the PHCs, all the what have you.
So there should be some kind of coordination.
Of course, coordination, Take it to the people. So there is no need for those trades by the federal government or some state government because the anti-vaccine campaign is not well deepened in this part of the country compared to some part of Europe.
All right. Now, again, we are seeing also another story that one may say, well, it's worrisome looking at the exchange rate for now 555 naira to $1 at the power market. And it looks like just keeps soaring. Are we aiming at 1,000 naira? Because someone have said that, look, it's probably possible, for you to see the naira gets to 1,000 naira to $1 by the end of the year.
You see this issue of our naira losing its value almost every day, It has so many implications. You don't need to be an economist to know that. We don't produce, we import. Almost everything under the sun, the price has gone up. That is one. And why is it so? Yeah, the CBN is trying. It's based, remember, from September 2020 to September 2021. The CBN has, over this 1 year period, issued about 22 policies, guidelines to save the naira. But unfortunately, it is not working as it should be. You remember the Bureau de Change people, the mass arrest of people engaged in dubious means of holding the dollar. All this is happening because we don't produce enough for the dollar to trickle in.
And it doesn't look like in the short term we'll get to produce as much to make sure that the dollar doesn't continue to rise, looking at what we are battling with right now.
Look at the insecurity. How many people, this Kaduna Abuja road that we mentioned, there are some pockets of industries that are springing up here. Dangote car assembly plant is there, Olam is there, still rolling is there. But with these reports, people are being gunned down almost on a daily basis, abductions everywhere. It doesn't, somebody, an investor from the UK, US, or whatever, will not bring his dollars into an economy like this. You understand? So that is one. Electricity. You have to get it right. There are certain fundamentals that must be in place, as well as even the regulatory system.
So I doubt if there's anything that needs to be said about issue of power, and how important it is for our industries in Nigeria that hasn't been said yet. Why are we not seeing results, really?
You see, problems pile up over time. And you need actually, let's take power for instance. We believe government is not very good in doing business. So this power, not the distribution, discourse, we are auction, so to say. The CBN has given more than 700 billion to the same private companies that bought over this power. The major problem to me is when they were auctioning these things, the type of clauses they use. Maybe if I am president of Nigeria, I will just revoke it. Yes, maybe they will go to the arbitration in London like we're having over Mambila. You remember that PAID issue? So you see where the problem is. So you can't even do the magic. The discourse are not functioning. There were timelines. Before 6 years after privatization, they will meter up to 1/3 of the population. By the end of there, more than half of the consumers will be metered. But where are we today?
Again, the same issues of the dollar rate is also informing the increase in the cost of the meters as well. These were the complaints.
That's how, when Buhari came, how much was the dollar? About 300, right? This power sector, we are almost getting to 10 years after the privatization.
So it's not.
But really the problem is, they connived with some unscrupulous government agents at that time because they bought, the same people in government bought over this power in distribution companies by proxy. So they sign in some horrible to the country, to you and me, clauses that you can't just revoke it.
It's not in favor of the people.
That is the problem.
All right. Well, a lot is really around this issue, but I want us to move on to other issues here that we are seeing. Again, we are seeing rape cases on the rise. A recent report by the United Nations is saying 11,200 Nigerian women, children were raped in 2020 alone. how does this come to you, and whether or not we are doing as much to, curb this issue of rape?
We are not doing enough. Yeah, we are not doing enough. The investigation itself, that is even where the suspects are arrested. The investigation is horribly poor. Incompetent police IPOs are deployed to do this, as well as the prosecution. Look at the Child Rights Act, for instance. About 11 or 12 states, I think I stopped by yesterday, are not yet, they haven't signed up all these acts, for instance. But that is not, I was discussing with the lawyer, I said, that's not even enough. There is, issue of rape in Nigeria. There is that socio-cultural and even religious stigma attached to it. These reports, there are maybe half of those people that are not even reported. They were afraid. The parents, for instance, are afraid to have their kids who was deflowered, for instance, stigmatized by the public. I remember long ago, I think it was in Niger, a neighbor raped a teenage girl, and the parents were bold enough to report the matter to the station. They regretted it when they went there. Based on the questions the incompetent police officers were asking them. The girl was further traumatized. And the case, take Niger for instance. Niger has an agency to tackle this issue. What do? The moment there is a report across all the 23 local governments, or 24 local governments of Niger State, for instance, the moment there is a case, the police will be informed. In fact, the Niger State Anti-Rape Agency has its own law enforcement people. They deploy them with the police to make the arrest. Yes, statutorily the police will prosecute the case, but they will send their lawyers. And that is why, the issue is being tackled to a certain extent in Niger State, but not all states have these things. So, unlike you, people who are raped, are raped by people they know. Their uncles, their stepbrothers, their cousins, and whatever. And people, the victim will even carve back her share because she doesn't want to tamper with siblings' dynamics. You can't accuse uncle, you can't accuse cousin or whatever with all that horrible.
For a holistic
certainly.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts with us on the program this morning. Very, very interesting thoughts there on the show. We have to wrap it up because of our time.
Thank you very much.
All right.